Hello, hello. Welcome back. Genesis 32 is what we'll be getting into today. Still have my church clothes on, so I figured good a time as any to do this video. This is where Jacob prepares to meet Esau. It's also where Jacob gets the name Israel, because he strives with El. He wrestles with God. Israel, striving with El. I did as much research as I could because that whole wrestling, I get the symbolism of it, but I don't entirely understand it. So I tried researching. We'll find out how good I did, I guess. Beginning, Genesis 32, verse 1. And Jacob went on his way, and the angels of God met him. And then Jacob saw them. He said, "This is God's host." And he called the name of the place Mahanaim. And Jacob sent messengers before him to Esau, his brother, unto the land of Seir, the country of Edom. So he sees this multitude of armed angels, and it says that it's God's army, basically. It's his host. Doesn't say what happens there. Just sends, okay, then he sends his messengers on to Esau. My guess is that they probably gave him some sort of message or sign or how to deal with his brother Esau, because he deals with them very shrewd and intelligently. Which is fine, but it's like this is an unnecessary mention because it doesn't say anything about what happened when he saw this host other than he sent messengers to Esau, his brother. So he sees a host, and that's all that they mention about it. It's weird. Like, if you saw a host of God's angels, an army of his angels, and that was the end of the story. Like, yeah, I saw a host of God's angels. So anyway, I'm going to go meet my brother. Go tell him I'm coming. What? That doesn't even make sense. So my guess, again, my guess is that some sort of sign or vision or something, message was given to him about how to deal with his brother Esau. Otherwise, why would they even put it in there? What's going on? And he commanded them, this is his messengers, saying, "Thus shall ye speak unto my lord Esau, thy servant," see, Lord, his older brother. He's still being humble to him. "Thy servant Jacob saith thus, I have sojourned with Laban and stayed there until now, and I have oxen and asses, flocks and men servants and women servants, and I have sent to tell my Lord that I may find grace in thy sight." So immediately he's coming to his brother humbly. Okay, he lets him know where he's been, calls him my Lord, the person that I am humbling myself to. I have all these things, and I've come back from Laban with great wealth, and I come to you, my Lord, my older brother. Kind of like saying, these things are for you. Shrewd. "And the messengers returned to Jacob, saying, We came to thy brother Esau, and also he cometh to meet thee." So he hears that. I'm sure Jacob's like, whoo, okay, cool. But then right after that, "and 400 men with him." Oh, like the last thing Esau told Jacob that he was going to kill him because he stole his blessing, his inheritance. So Jacob's trying to be, all right, let's be cautious about this. God told me to come back, but my brother wanted to kill me last I knew, so I got to tread lightly, call my Lord. Here's that there's 400 men coming with him to greet him. He's probably like, crap. "Then Jacob was greatly afraid and distressed, and he divided the people that was with him, and the flocks and herds and the camels into 2 bands, and said, If Esau come to the one company and smite it, then the other company which is left shall escape." So shrewd. That's very clever. This is a tactic even among soldiers and captains and generals. Split your forces up, sort of thing. If one gets wiped out by Esau, the other one still survives. "And Jacob said, O God of my father Abraham, and God of my father Isaac, the Lord which saidst unto me, Return unto thy country and to thy kindred, and I will deal well with thee. I am not worthy of the least of all the mercies and all the truth which thou hast shewed unto thy servant. For with my staff I passed over this Jordan, and now I am become 2 bands. Deliver me, I pray thee, from the hand of my brother, from the hand of Esau, for I fear him, lest he come and smite me, and the mother with him, lest he will come and smite me, and the mother with the children. And thou saidst, I will surely do thee good, and make thy seed as sand of the sea, which cannot be numbered for multitude." So he see how humble he is. Like, Lord, I know you blessed me, and I'm not deserving of any of it. You know, everything you've given me, I'm unworthy of. You've blessed me immensely. But you told me to return here, and it looks like my brother's going to hurt me. Please, basically make sure this doesn't happen. I started with meek beginnings, and you gave me everything. And I know this and understand this. Please don't let him do harm to me and mine. Also, notice how he says, I am not worthy of the least of all the mercies and of all the truth. See, that's the word, the message, logos, truth. He has been blessed with the truth. That's what the blessing is. The blessing is understanding the true nature of the world. It's not a thing. The blessing is being able to see that there's more important things than the money and the material and the sex and whatever, the greed, the fame, the sloth. These earthly desires, knowing that there's something more, that to live for God, to live for the honor of serving God, is higher than to live for being a great hunter like Esau is and getting all the fame that comes from bringing meat to the village. That's not what life is about. Esau thinks that's what life is about. So he can't receive the blessing. It's literally impossible because you have to have the understanding of truth to get the blessing. See, Jacob gets it. He sees it. He knows it. He thanks God for the truths that he's been given. Not for the flocks and everything, but the truth and the mercy. Moving on, verse 13. And he lodged there the same night and took of that which came to his hand a present for Esau his brother, 200 she-goats and 20 he-goats, 200 ewes and 20 rams, 30 milch camels with their colts, and 14 kine, 10 bulls, 20 she-asses, and 10 fowls. And he delivered them into the hand of his servant, every drove by themselves, and said unto his servants, Pass over before me, and put a space betwixt drove and drove. And he commanded the foremost, saying, When Esau my brother meeteth thee, and asketh thee, saying, Whose art thou? And whither goest thou? And whose are these before thee? Then thou shalt say, They be thy servant Jacob's. It is a present sent unto my lord Esau, and behold, also he is behind us. And so commanded he the second and the third, and all that followed the drove, saying, On this manner shall ye speak unto Esau, when he find him, and say ye moreover, Behold, thy servant Jacob is behind us, for he said, I will appease him with the present that goeth before me, and afterward I will see his face. Peradventure he will accept of me. So went the present over before him, and himself lodged that night in the company, and who rose up that night, and took his 2 wives, and his 2 women servants, and his 11 sons, and passed over the ford Jabbok, and he took them, and sent them over the brook, and sent over that he had. So he sends all these presents ahead of him to Esau, to give him these presents to show his meekness and his humility. So he left with nothing. He's coming back with riches, but he's giving these riches to his brother. Now you might say that this is a lack of faith, because God said he would take care of Jacob, so why does he need to give these presents? But, again, you don't understand the blessing then. The blessing is knowing that the world is not about money or power or how many cattle or rams or whatever you have. It's about living for God. The reason he has all this stuff is because God has blessed him, because he lives a good life and follows God's teachings. So as long as he does that, he'll continue to be blessed. He can give all of his stuff away to his brother Esau. God will still bless him. He knows this because Jacob has the blessing. And the blessing, again, is knowing that the world is not about living for fortune or fame or earthly things. So to give him away is nothing to him. But Esau, it's winning him over at the same time, because Esau does live for this thing. He was a great hunter in the land and always brought venison home, and everyone loved him for it. Women loved him. His father loved him because he was seen as a great hunter. Nothing wrong with hunting, but at this time, that's how you get fame. And he wasn't hunting to feed the village. It may have started that way, but now he's hunting and bringing home all this food and all this stuff, Esau is, so that people will love him. People will kind of revere him and look up to him, and he'll be a leader. He wants that fame, the power. He doesn't do it for helping others. He does it for the power. So Jacob is humbling himself and handing this stuff over to his older brother. It's playing right into that mindset that Esau has. And it's softening his heart towards his brother Jacob. Very, very shrewd. This is why I think when it says at the beginning that Jacob saw a host of the angels, then boom, it moves right into how he prepared to meet Esau. I think they gave him a vision of, or knowledge of how to greet his brother Esau. And then he sends all his stuff over the other side of this river, this Jabbok, probably to keep him safe. You know, his sons and his possessions and his wives, he sends across the river so that they can be kept safe in case Esau comes at night. That's what I think is going on there. But now we get into Jacob wrestling with God, or one of the angels. One of the more confusing passages in the Bible, in my eyes. A lot of stuff I can make sense of, and I will try my best to make sense of this, but it's just a weird thing, you know? Anyway, verse 24, and Jacob was left alone, and there wrestled a man with him until the breaking of the day. And when he saw that he prevailed not against him, he touched the hollow of his thigh, and the hollow of Jacob's thigh was out of joint. And he wrestled with him. And he said, Let me go, for the day breaketh. And he said, I will not let thee go, except thou bless me. And he said unto him, What is thy name? And he said, Jacob, remember, which means the one who grabs the heel of his brother or whatever. And he said, Thy name shall be called no more Jacob, but Israel. For a prince hast thou power with God and with men, and hast prevailed. And Jacob asked him and said, Tell me, I pray thee, thy name. And he said, Wherefore is it that thou dost ask after my name? And he blessed him there, and Jacob called the name of the place Peniel, for I have seen God face to face, and my life is preserved. And as he passed over Penuel, the sun rose up upon him, and he halted upon his thigh. Therefore the children of Israel eat not the sinew which shrank, which is upon the hollow of the thigh, unto this day, because he touched the hollow of Jacob's thigh and sinew. So I'm just going to tell you my interpretation of this. I did a lot of study on these few verses right here, and all right, I'll just give you what my opinion is on it. It's an angel. It's not God. I think it's one of the sevenfold angels, and most likely the one representing the blessing of Israel. Now, what this is meant to represent, and I think what it represents actually, is how Israel, the nation of Israel, the people of Jacob, his descendants, are going to struggle with God throughout their history, throughout the history of the Jewish people. They're going to struggle with the message. They're going to come to it. They're going to fight against it. They're going to want to hold on to that blessing. They're going to want to hold on to it and do everything they can for it. But at the same time, they're not necessarily just giving into the message. They're not just accepting it. They're struggling with God. And we see this all throughout the Old Testament and beyond. This is the nation of Israel. Strive with Israel. That's what it means. Strive with God. So this is not said to be a dream or a vision or that he went to sleep, which is always how it is. So this more likely was like a real thing. I don't understand why it wasn't just a vision, though. That's the thing I don't get, is why it actually happened. You know, I get the representation of what it's supposed to be, but I just do not understand the reason for the wrestling happening in real life, and for it to harm Jacob's hip and all the significance of that. And I did a lot of research. I read about the symbolism between Jacob and Christ and a lot of the things that it ends up representing later on down the future and down the line. But as far as it being a real thing that actually happened, I do believe that, but I don't get it. I don't get why it was a real thing that actually happened and not just a vision. But what I do know is it points out Jacob will not let go of the blessing. You know, he kind of steals it from Esau. Again, in our eyes, he steals it. God never sees it as stealing because Esau couldn't get it because he doesn't understand it. Jacob understands what the blessing is. He gets the blessing. He would not let go until he got the blessing. It was like him striving with God, I don't know how else to say it. He will not give up until he gets this blessing that he knows he deserves. But you notice, so God gives him, the angel gives him the blessing. Like, yes, you deserve it. But at the same time, when Jacob asked for the name of the angel or the Lord, he's like, what? Basically, he says, in old way of talking, by what right do you ask my name? You have no right to ask my name. You get my blessing. You were going to get my blessing anyway, basically. You strove with me through the night. It's kind of a way to keep Jacob humble. Like, yes, you won your blessing through this struggle by holding on to me throughout the entire struggle. Just like the nation of Israel is going to get the blessing. The 144,000 in Revelations, they get the blessing because they hold on to it. They hold on to the Lord so tightly. But at the same time, he keeps Jacob humble. Be like, look, you have no right to ask my name. You should know whose name I come by anyway. But that's all I can get from this last part. I'm sorry, I did tons of research, but I just don't get it. I get it that it's a symbolism of representing the struggle with the Lord and the message and understanding and what his descendants are going to go through within the future generations of striving with the Lord, striving with the message and understanding and totally getting it, but just wanting to hold on so much to that blessing that they think they get based on their bloodline, but they don't get it based on their bloodline. It's an understanding thing. That being said, I just don't understand why it's a real thing. But I do believe it was a real thing. Like, it wasn't a vision, it wasn't a dream, it actually happened. Anyway, that's my video for the day. Next one will be Genesis 33. This is where Jacob actually makes peace or meets up with Esau. Weird stuff in this one too, I tell you what, because there's so many different translations of way that it can be read. Anyway, hope everyone's having a wonderful day, and God bless.